Welcome to our lesson on the Marquee tool. With our Marquee tool selected in the toolbox, we have two definition methods available, and they are selected right here. We have the single floor or the all floor method. With the single floor method selected, if we place the Marquee by clicking and dragging a box around our structure, and then right-clicking on the mouse and selecting Show Selection Marquee in 3D. We will only show the items on the floor that was selected. And not the items on the second floor or anything placed on the floor below. And we will only see what is within the area of the Marquee. So if we go back to our first floor, remove the Marquee, and place a new Marquee that only covers half the structure, and we go back into Show Selection Marquee in 3D. That illustrates how the Marquee shows only what's within the box that was defined. So we'll remove that Marquee and we'll go into the thicker dashed Marquee. I'll place that around the entire structure, and we'll go into Show Selection Marquee in 3D. And now you'll see that that's rebuilt and shows everything on all levels within the boundaries of the Marquee. There are several drawing methods for the Marquee. We can select a polygon, and again we'll illustrate how that works if we go back into Show Selection Marquee in 3D. Again, only those areas selected within the boundary of the polygon are shown. We'll remove that Marquee. We also have, as in other tools, our rectangle and our rotated rectangle. Draw a rotated rectangle. We click our start and end point and then draw out our rectangle to the required length, and click one more time, and that defines our rotated rectangle. We'll remove that. With a Marquee drawn, there are several ways to deselect the Marquee. One is to double click outside the project area with the Marquee tool selected. Place that Marquee back. We can hit the escape key on the keyboard, or we can begin drawing a new Marquee. Another way that we could work with the Marquee tool Say we want to select all objects but only within the marquee of the project. We can put a marquee around the area and click with the object tool selected. We can press Ctrl A on the keyboard and that will select all objects but only within the marquee area. So at times that can be a very useful tool. We'll remove that marquee. We can work with the marquee in the 3D window. With the marquee tool selected, we can choose from several methods to work with the marquee. We can have polygonal, rectangle, rotated rectangle, or flat. So working with the polygonal method, we can draw our lines around part of the project. When we get the hammer, we double click and we can select Show Selection Marquee in 3D. Fit that to the window. And you can see how that works in 3D. We'll remove that marquee and go back to Show All in 3D. Fit that to the window. If we say use our flat method, we deselect orbit and say we want to just capture like a screenshot of a particular area. We can go into Edit, Copy. Then we can say go back to a floor plan. Bring up our context menu and click Paste. And that places a bitmap of the image. We're going to cancel that because there's actually a better way to do that, and that is to go into View and our 3D mode and change that to the internal 3D engine. Now when we go back into Show All in 3D, with our marquee around the same area, we can copy also by going Control C. And that brings up this menu here, which gives us some options. The first is Copy Save As. We can save that as a painting screenshot, a drawing, or a scale drawing. We can choose which elements to copy. We can choose none, edges, polygons, edges and polygons. We can choose shadows, none, edges, polygons, or edges and polygons. And 3D hatching, none, just the hatching lines or the polygons. We can select overlapping polygons or calculate split polygons, and we can choose either framed or frameless. So we select OK. Now if we go back to the floor plan and right click to bring up our context menu and select paste, we get a much clearer picture. And we can drag and drop that anywhere we like. So that can be used as a very powerful added visualization tool. Another trick we can use along the same lines, if we go into Show All in 3D, again using our internal engine and not the GDL engine. And we go up here to 3D projection settings, and we select a projection type, and we go to our top view, line our camera up so that we have 0 on the X, 90 on the Y, and select OK. That'll give us a perfect top view of the project. Then if we take our Marquee tool and select all of that and Control C on the keyboard, that'll bring up our Copy 3D options. We'll save that as a scaled drawing because we're going to put this on the floor plan and we want it to be scaled with the floor plan. We're going to select edges and polygons for the construction elements. We're going to select edges and polygons for the shadows. We'll turn off the 3D hatching. We'll select overlapping polygons and framed instead of frameless and click OK. This adds it to the clipboard. We can go back to our floor plan, right click to bring up the context menu, select paste, click outside of the marquee, and this is a very interesting way of doing a visualization. You can see the applications for that as far as marketing or sales brochures, that kind of thing. Just one other way of looking at the project in ARCHICAD. Alright, I have a different plan up here, and I'd like to take a look at a couple of other uses of the Marquee tool and its application in regards to stretching. With the Marquee tool selected and the single story selected, if we place our marquee around this roof peak here, and we get a check mark on the very tip of this ridge for the hip, we click and hold down our left mouse key and the shift key, and we drag this along until we get to the edge of the roof line. That has stretched all of those elements at one time. We can remove that marquee, and you can see how we've gone from a typical hip to a typical gable in the 3D view. If we go back to our first floor plan, and with our marquee tool selected, if we place our marquee around the area like that, we can stretch that entire area or stretch it right back to adjust entire groups of elements at the same time. So what we've done here is we've stretched back and forth all the walls, the roof, the slab, and it's worth noting that we should make sure that we have our grouping either suspended or turned off. When we attempt this. And so we have another powerful editing and adjusting tool that makes working in ARCHICAD so easy.